The courtroom was silent, a heavy blanket of tension hanging in the air. I could feel the eyes of the jurors piercing through me, their judgment like daggers. My hands trembled as I clutched the papers on the table, desperately trying to maintain my composure. The moments stretched out, each passing second a reminder of everything that had led me here. I could almost hear the murmur of their thoughts. How did she let it get this far? "Your Honor," I stammered, already knowing I had lost my audience, the weight of my words sinking into an abyss of disbelief. "I need to explain." But the gavel fell before I could gather my thoughts, echoing like a thundering heartbeat in the stillness. "Order!" the judge barked. I looked away, my heart pounding in my chest, the pang of betrayal still fresh. My thoughts circled back to that moment, the moment everything changed. It began when I was completely unaware of the shadows lurking behind what I thought was a perfect family. I can still remember the sweet scent of my mum's perfume mingling with the floral notes of the garden outside our house. That summer afternoon, sunlight poured in through the kitchen windows, and I could hear my mother humming softly, her voice a comforting balm to my young soul. "Mum, can I wear the necklace today?" I asked, my eyes sparkling with excitement. Mum's fingers brushed over the delicate chain, her sharp emerald eyes twinkling back at me. "Not today, sweetie. It's important to me, but one day it will be yours." Her words wrapped around me like a promise, a tender moment I cherished. But then everything shifted, as if a dark cloud had rolled over our sunshine. When my mum passed away unexpectedly, my world shattered into a million pieces, scattered like leaves in the wind. I remember the moment my stepmother entered the fray, a smile plastered on her face that never reached her cold eyes. "Now, dear," she said, her voice dripping with faux concern, "don't you worry. I'll take care of everything." The sincerity in her tone felt like a lie, but I was too young to truly understand the depths of what was brewing. In the following weeks, her attempts to bring me into her world felt more suffocating than comforting. "Have you thought about putting the old things away?" she suggested one day, her words wrapped in seemingly affectionate intent as I clutched the few items my mother left behind. "They're just reminders of a painful past, aren't they?" "No," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "They're my memories." A flicker of annoyance crossed her face, but she smoothed it over with practiced ease. "You'll thank me later." As I surrendered to the storm of her manipulation, I found myself drifting away from friends, teachers, and anyone who cared. Invitations dwindled, and I started living in the shadows of my stepmom's dominance. The isolation dug in like frozen roots beneath the snow. I still remember those lonely nights huddled under my covers, the darkness consuming me, while my once joyful dreams faded into countless fears. My stepmother soon maneuvered her way into my life, and it wasn't long before I felt entirely dependent on her reins. I watched as her slow encroachment turned into full custody of what once was mine. Every little detail was taken away. My childhood faded into her extravagant illusions. "Don't you want to be just like me?" she'd ask, brushing her fingers through her perfectly styled hair while wearing something I could never afford. Having nice things is what really counts in life. I wanted to scream, to rebel, but her icy grip held me tightly, a constant reminder that the world could be cruel, and I was better off under her umbrella. Each time I tried to voice my unease, she'd slip on a mask of concern, as though I were the one causing chaos. "Why can't you just listen to me for once?" "I'm only trying to help you," she'd snap, her voice laced with exasperation. I wavered in my response, too scared to argue. I just don't understand," I stuttered, my voice trembling. She'd shake her head, a chilling smile painted on her lips. "Then I guess that just makes you ungrateful." With every denial, I sank further into a pit of emotional dependency, too weak to anchor my thoughts or stand on my own. It wasn't until a rainy afternoon, when I decided to rummage through her purse for a few cents to buy a snack, that I stumbled upon something far worse than I could have ever imagined: a crumpled pawnshop receipt. My heart raced as I recognized the name on it. The necklace. My mother's necklace. The cold truth sliced through me, shattering any remaining illusion of love or care from my stepmother. Enough was enough. I was no longer the lost girl she tried to mold, the girl who let herself be silenced. I was on the precipice of reclaiming my life, one piece at a time. Image prompt. A young woman in her early 20s stands in a dimly lit courtroom, dark hair cascading in disarray, eyes wide with shock and determination. She clutches a stack of papers nervously, her fingers trembling. In the background, a judge frowns. The atmosphere is thick with tension, and a flash of betrayal flickers in her expression, reflecting the struggles she's endured. I stood frozen, the receipt quaking in my hands as if it had a pulse of its own. The jagged edges of my heart seemed to align, forming a steely resolve. The pawnshop receipt, clearly dated, bore my mother's necklace, the very one my stepmother had warned me to forget. But I wasn't going to forget. I was going to remember, and I was going to fight. In that moment, the walls of my life began to crack, a slow, deliberate fissure in the facade of my stepmother's control. My breaths came quicker, mingling with the rain that drummed against the window, the rhythmic patter echoing my growing determination. I could no longer hide from the fact that my stepmother, with her deceptively comforting words, had orchestrated a betrayal far worse than I had ever imagined. "Mum's necklace," I whispered to myself, disbelief still writhing in my gut. How long had it been since I'd felt anything tangible that connected me to her? My memories, once filled with bright flowers and sweet melodies, now dulled under the weight of loss and deception. "Please tell me you found something, darling," my stepmother's voice chimed from the kitchen, saturated with false sweetness. "I could really use a hand with this cake for the Collins anniversary." I took a deep breath, donning my mask as I slipped the receipt into my pocket like a secret weapon. "Oh, I just found some old lip balm," I replied, forcing a casual tone. I could hear the fade of her footsteps, leaving me alone with my storm. Every fiber of my being churned with a restless energy, a need to act. The walls of my life might have been closing in, but I was ready to break free from my isolation, to take control, to unearth the truth. The next day, I clicked through phone contacts, my heart racing with apprehension. I was ready to connect with someone outside this oppressive atmosphere. My fingers hesitated over the screen, remembering the faces of those I had cut off in my journey of forced loneliness. But then, I saw a name that sparked both hope and fear: Lila, my childhood friend, and albeit a distant ally in my time of need. I sent her a message. "Can we meet? I need someone to talk to and trust." Within minutes, my phone buzzed, her reply illuminating the screen. "Of course! I'm free this afternoon. What's going on?" Sitting across from Lila in our favorite cafe, the aroma of fresh coffee enveloping us, I felt a moment of solace. A flicker of nostalgia sparked as I looked at her, the way her laughter danced through the air, reminding me of happier days. "Okay, spill it," she urged, her voice laced with genuine concern. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "What happened?" Her warm scrutiny pushed me to reveal the devastating secret. I launched into the tale, recounting the day I found the receipt and how my stepmother's invasion of my life had manipulated me into a state of dependency. As I spoke, I watched Lila's facial expressions shift between shock and anger, her brows knitting together in disbelief. "I can't believe she really did that," she finally said, her voice dropping to a whisper, weighted with empathy. "Your mum adored that necklace. You have to confront her." A lump formed in my throat. I wanted to, but I'm terrified of what she'd do next. "She has a way of twisting everything back in her favor. You can't just sit back and let her win," Lila replied, her eyes narrowing with determination. "What if you found proof, something she couldn't dismiss?" The thought ignited a flicker of ambition in my chest. "Proof, like something better than just a receipt." "Exactly. You need solid evidence," she exclaimed, her tone firm. "Have you thought about hiring a private investigator? They can dig deeper into her activities. And you know, I have a cousin who works in the field." I contemplated this, the image of my life spiraling into darkness swirling in my mind. Frustration clashed with hope as I answered, "I don't know if I can afford it. What if it backfires?" Think about it this way. Every day you spend not investigating is another day you live in her grasp. Her bluntness pierced through my hesitation, revealing the blurry lens of inaction. The idea danced around in my mind, and I took a deep breath, realizing I had to pursue this path. "Okay, let's do it," with resolve stealing over me. I picked up my phone after leaving the cafe, dialed her cousin's number, and laid my cards on the table. "I've got a sensitive situation. I need to uncover the truth. Can you help me?" He was cordial but grave, explaining the costs, the risks, and what pursuing the truth would entail. Every word sparked the adrenaline racing through my veins, energizing a part of myself that had lain dormant for too long. "I need to know what my stepmother is up to," I said, my voice steady. "Leave it to me. I'll get back to you." And just like that, my detective journey began. Days stretched like elastic as I waited for his findings. I began to piece together the fragments of my turbulent life that my stepmother had spun into chaos. With Lila by my side, I felt a flicker of control rising within me. One receipt had unraveled a torrent of rebellion, reigniting a spirit within me that had always been snuffed out. "Whatever it takes," I declared, my gaze focused and fist clenched tightly. "I'm not going to let her win." Image prompt. A young woman in her early 20s sits in a bustling cafe, dark hair cascading down her shoulders, her eyes burning with determination. She leans over the table, intense energy radiating from her as she grips a steaming cup of coffee. Across from her, a friend with light blonde hair looks on with a mix of shock and concern, their conversation wrapping the small space with intrigue. The ambiance is warm, filled with the sense of coffee and freshly baked goods, yet the tension is palpable as they plot the next move in a rising storm. I had the pawnshop receipt tucked tightly in my pocket, a small piece of paper that carried the weight of 1,000 emotions. My heart raced as I paced outside my stepmother's office, mentally rehearsing what I would say. I could feel the tremors of nervousness coursing through me, each footstep echoing the doubts swirling in my mind. Would she deny it? Would she lash out? Taking a deep breath, I knocked on the door. "Can I come in?" "Of course." Her voice floated from the other side, overly cheerful, almost mocking. I stepped inside, the air thick with the scent of lavender air freshener, a desperate mask over the underlying tension. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Her expression shifted slightly, her practiced calm faltering just for a moment.
"Oh.
About what?" She looked up from her desk, feigning innocence, but I could see the flicker of wariness in her emerald eyes. I pulled out the receipt, the paper crumpling slightly in my grip. "About this," I said, holding it out to her. "Why did you pawn Mum's necklace?" The smile on her face vanished, replaced by a cold, calculating gaze. "What on earth are you talking about?" She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. "Where did you get that?" "I found it in your purse," I replied, my voice gaining confidence despite the mounting fear in my chest. "You told me to forget about it, but that necklace was important to Mum, and it's mine. Why would you do this?" "You're being ridiculous," she snapped, rising to her feet. "Do you have any idea how crazy this sounds? You really think I would do something like that?" Her tone dripped with condescension, the corners of her mouth twitching as if trying to stifle a laugh. I felt the walls closing in, the room spinning slightly as confusion set in. I just want to know the truth. Why would you lie?" "Lie?" She tilted her head, her expression feigned innocence. "You're twisting the narrative here. I was merely trying to protect you from the painful memories. This foolish obsession with a piece of jewelry is unhealthy." "Unhealthy!" I echoed, exasperation surging through me. "It's a part of my mother. You don't get to decide what I should or shouldn't cherish. Do you hear yourself?" she countered, her voice gaining volume. "This is delusional. You're projecting your issues onto a necklace. You need therapy." Maybe I should have done that sooner. "No," I shouted, my chest tightening as panic set in. "I'm not crazy. You're just trying to manipulate me again." She stepped closer, the scent of her expensive perfume swirling around us. "It's not manipulation if you were the one losing touch with reality. We're only trying to help you, sweetheart. The last thing we want is for you to lash out in this misguided rage by pawning off my mother's possessions." I shot back, pulling away from her intimidating proximity, disbelief widening my eyes. "Is that the way you help?" "Maybe if you weren't so materialistic you'd understand," she said, shrugging dismissively as she turned her back on me. "All you ever do is hold on to the past. That's your problem, not mine." The dismissive wave of her hand felt like a slap. My confusion morphed into frustration that simmered within me, my body trembling from the emotional overload. "You can't just sweep this under the rug like it's nothing. I refuse to allow you to erase my memories." "I'm not erasing anything," she countered, her voice rising again in indignation. "You are making a scene. Maybe you should take a moment to think about your behavior," she emphasized, an edge creeping into her tone. "I'm already inundated with people thinking you're just like your mother, and I won't have them coming down on me too. I have a reputation to uphold, and your little outbursts—" "Outburst!" I cut in, hot tears pricking my eyes. "You've done nothing but take my life from me. I'm trying to reclaim it." "Reclaim what?" She chuckled, a laugh devoid of warmth. "Air? Space?" Your life is right under my roof. You should be grateful that I took you in." Her words struck me harder than I anticipated. My breath hitched in response. "Grateful," I repeated, bitterness coating my tone. "You call this a home? I'm suffocating." "Maybe it's time for you to consider leaving then," she shot back, her voice dripping with disdain. "If you can't appreciate my generosity, perhaps I should reconsider my position." The finality in her words sent a frigid shiver down my spine. Fear bloomed, and I felt trapped, caught in the web of her manipulation. Knowing if I questioned her any further, I would end up being painted as the villain. "I can't trust you," I said weakly, my voice a shadow of its former strength. "You've twisted everything since, Mum." "Oh, here we go with the since Mum narrative again," she mocked, narrowing her eyes. "Why don't you try looking in the mirror for once? Maybe then you'll start to see the true cause of all this chaos and drama." Our gaze locked, and for a fleeting moment, I glimpsed a fragment of myself reflected in her eyes, the confused daughter, wishing to reclaim love, yet struggling against a wall of bitterness. I turned and walked away, feeling trapped in an emotionally charged landscape that wasn't mine anymore. With every inch I put between us, the weight of her words shackled me, taunting my sanity. Back in my room, my heart raced as I replayed the scene. Memories of laughter and love stained by her betrayal. Was it truly all in my head? Or had I finally opened the door to what lay beyond her twisted version of reality? I needed to gather strength to find a roadmap through this maze of gaslighting and deceit. I knew that beneath the surface of her carefully crafted facade, I would eventually find the truth. Image prompt. A young woman with long dark hair stands in a dimly lit office. Her expression a chaotic mix of anger and despair. Her hands tremble as she holds a crumpled pawnshop receipt, eyes wide with emotion. Across from her, a steely-eyed stepmother with perfectly styled hair glances back, a mocking smile betraying her true colors. The tension in the room is palpable, thick with unspoken accusations, and the atmosphere feels charged, like an impending storm. My heart pounded in my chest like a drum echoing through a silent chamber as I faced the harsh glare of reality. The remnants of my stepmother's manipulation clung to me like a shroud, a suffocating reminder of everything I had lost. When she kicked me out of the house, the echoes of her cruel words rang in my ears. "I won't have your toxic attitude ruining my life, not anymore." Her voice cut like a knife when she dismissed me that day, fury painting her features as if I were a mere inconvenience. "Mum's necklace was my last link to her," I had pleaded, desperation lacing my words. "How can you not understand that? Help me understand what? That you're an ungrateful brat who can't see a good thing when it's right in front of you. You'll thank me later for all the protection I provided." "That's not protection, that's control," I shouted back, or at least I tried to. The raw emotion twisted in my gut as she slammed the door in my face, leaving me alone in the chilly evening air. I didn't even have a plan. All I could do was collect a few clothes that had been mine before my cage was built, the old haunting memories of laughter and security now drowned out by a tide of uncertainty. I sat on the curb outside my former home, hugging my knees. I watched the shadows of twilight creep across the ground before me, the last remnants of daylight slipping away as I sank deeper into despair, hoping for a way out. The reality of my situation pressed against my chest, suffocating me. Without a dime to my name, I would need to scrape together a new existence without resources or connections. I had become the pariah, the girl who lost everything. As night settled in, the world around me blurred into a cacophony of distant sirens and the rustling of leaves in the autumn breeze. The air was heavy with the scent of rain, the impending storm mirroring the turmoil in my heart. I reached for my phone, trembling fingers hovering over contacts. All the names I had severed ties with flooded me with regrets. Friends I'd pushed away because of my isolation. People who might have stood by me. But I couldn't. I couldn't face Lila. Couldn't let anyone know I'd been evicted. Wouldn't dare show them the skin of a broken girl. I swallowed my pride, biting down on the edge of raw panic gnawing at my insides. This was all my fault. Wasn't I the one who had allowed my stepmother to ensnare me? "Where will you go?" I whispered into the void, my voice barely a shiver against the wind. But then a soft buzz startled me. A newer message on my phone caught my eye. It was Lila checking in. "Hey, how are you today?" I opened it, my hands shaking. Could I really tell her the truth? As I was about to type a reassuring message, a banal, "I'm fine," a shivering wave of transparency washed over me. I finally responded, "I was kicked out. I need help." My hands trembled, the seconds stretching into lifetimes as I waited. I could imagine her expression, all concern and sympathy, perhaps guilt for not reaching out sooner. But then the screen lit up. "I'm coming over right now." "You're not alone," Lila replied, and I felt a rush of warmth course through me, that tiny glimmer of hope. Shortly after, I heard the sound of footsteps on the gravel, the soft crunch marking the approach of safety. I lifted my head just in time to see her widen her eyes, taking in the scene. She rushed forward. "Oh my God! What happened?" "I don't know where to go," I admitted, and the well of tears I had been holding back broke free. "I lost everything. And it's my fault." "Stop! Stop! Stop right there!" Lila exclaimed, pulling me into her arms. "This is not your fault. This is that monster's doing. You deserve better. Come on, let's get you somewhere safe." Her unwavering conviction bolstered me. "But where?" "My parents hate to see me sad," she explained, her voice unwavering and fierce. "We can make an arrangement for you to stay while you get back on your feet." I refused to let that witch win. I nodded, biting my lip to keep it from trembling. I don't know how things got this bad." Lila locked eyes with me, squaring her shoulders as if preparing for the battle ahead. "We'll figure it out together. First, let's get you somewhere warm. We'll talk resolutions when we get to my place." I was so lost, so torn apart, but Lila's presence anchored me somehow, a lighthouse in the dark, stormy seas of despair. She led me to her car. The smell of vanilla air freshener wafted through the air, offering comfort against the backdrop of anguish weighing on my spirit. The moment she slammed her door shut, I looked out the window, leafing back through memories of my past life, moments when I had warmth, connection, laughter, all stripped away now, leaving trembling echoes of vulnerability in their wake. "Hey," Lila said softly, not taking her eyes off the road. "You will get through this. We'll find a way to expose what she's done too. No one messes with you and gets away with it. Their cruel attempts to dominate my spirit wouldn't stand much longer. I knew I had so much to fight for. I wasn't merely a victim. I was a survivor, teetering on the edge of rediscovery. They thought they had destroyed me," I murmured to myself as the city lights streamed outside, illuminating the path ahead. "If you hate bullies, hit the like button." Image prompt. A young woman with long dark hair sits in a car, her eyes reflecting hardship yet ignited with a flickering spark of resolve. Beside her, a friend grips the steering wheel with determination, her blonde hair framing an expression of fierce protectiveness. The interior of the car holds a comforting scent of vanilla air freshener, contrasting with the somber atmosphere outside, where city lights blur together like distant stars, hinting at a path to redemption amidst despair. I couldn't shake the heaviness in my chest after my confrontation with my stepmother. The truth was just beyond my grasp, taunting me like the shadows that crowded my imagination. But I knew there was more to uncover, more behind her calculated facade. I had to find out what she was hiding, and Lila was my key. As we sat in her room, surrounded by the remnants of our carefree childhoods, Lila leaned forward, her eyes narrowed in determination. "So, what's the next step for us? You can't let her get away with this. I need to know what else she's been hiding," I said, gripping the edge of the chair. "She pawns Mum's necklace. What else has she done?" "Exactly. Let's start digging deeper. Maybe the private investigator can help uncover more," Leela suggested, enthusiasm lighting up her features. "We've got to discover her secrets." I took a deep breath, each inhalation reminding me of the weight my stepmother had leveraged on my life. But what if she finds out? What if she retaliates? "Let her try." Lila's voice was steady. "You deserve to reclaim your life. I'll even contact my cousin again." She pulled out her phone and began typing furiously, her brows furrowing with focus. The lingering fear faded just a bit as I watched her, gratitude flooding my veins. "Thanks for standing by me, Lila. I don't think I could do this without your support." A moment passed in silence, just the faint hum of familiar music playing from her computer. Then her phone buzzed and she lifted it to her ear, her expression shifting from concentration to wide-eyed intent. "Yes, Ryan? We want to go deeper than just the necklace. Your past investigations on my cousin's stepmother." She paused, listening carefully, and I felt adrenaline coursing through me, a vivid mix of anticipation and dread. What did he say? I urged after she hung up. He's on it. He hinted at some strange incidents connected to your stepmother, financial irregularities and odd transactions. Lila's expression morphed into determination. We need to prepare ourselves. This could unravel everything she's built. A chill ran down my spine. Irregularities? What are we talking about? Lawsuits? Money laundering? I don't know yet, but we'll find out soon. Lila's eyes gleamed. What if she's involved in something bigger? If we could gather concrete proof, we could take her down. Confronting her would be a massive risk, but maybe I can collect evidence of her deceit. My thoughts raced with the weight of what lay ahead, all the possibilities that hung suspended in the air. We could be onto something huge, but how do we catch her in the act? Let's think about her routines, Lila suggested thoughtfully. She often meets with shady businessmen in random cafes, right? If we follow her discreetly, we might uncover something. Good idea. She's always been careful, but I know the places she frequents. I can pass for someone looking to chat, and you could play it cool nearby, I responded, a rush of excitement mingling with anxiety. Later that week, the day finally arrived. As we drove through the city, the neon lights blurred into streaks against the backdrop of dusk. My heart raced as we pulled into a dimly lit cafe, the very place my stepmother had mentioned in passing conversations. How do you want to play this? Leela asked, her concentration sharpening as she turned off the car. I'll go in first and act natural, I said, my palms sweaty against my thighs. You hang back and keep an eye on her. If things feel off, signal me. A surge of anxiety rippled through me as I opened the door and stepped inside. The air held an aroma of thick coffee and whispered conversations, the low lighting casting long shadows across the walls. My heart thrummed in time with the jazz playing in the background, illuminating a sense of urgency, making it impossible to ignore the fact that my life was about to change forever. I spotted her at a table in the back, speaking animatedly with a man I'd never seen before. My stomach twisted with uncertainty as I approached the counter. I ordered a coffee, casting furtive glances at their table. Lila's watchful eyes were locked onto me through the window, the familiar comfort anchoring my resolve. Can you believe this? Everything we discussed, I need to make it happen soon, I heard my stepmother exclaim across the cafe. My heart lurched as I strained to hear more. Don't worry. After the last transaction, things are rolling smoothly, the stranger replied, his voice low and conspiratorial. Just keep your head down and no more mistakes. Every word seared into my memory, unraveling threads of a sinister tapestry I had yet to comprehend. I had to get closer. Just as I was about to stand up, my phone buzzed violently against the table. Lila's message flickered across the screen. She's leaving! I sprang into action, dodging between the tables to keep up with her. Outside, the chill evening air hit my face, invigorating the racing uncertainty in my chest. I watched as they walked toward an alleyway, shadows of doubt and fear creeping back. I turned to Lila's concerned face, now pale under the streetlights. What if we lose them? Don't worry. Stay low, and we'll follow them, Lila whispered, her eyes alight with mischief. We slipped into the alley and pushed onward, pulses racing, until I peered around the corner. As I did, a metallic glint caught my ice-tacked crates filled with money or something similar. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. No way, this can't be right, I muttered, but the truth sizzled through me like electricity. Did you see what I saw? Lila replied, her voice barely above a whisper. We need to get proof. This is huge. Right. We need to document it, I said, pulling out my phone. I'll record their conversation. Lila, you keep a lookout, as I held the camera. I felt both fear and exhilaration dance in my veins, a devilish mix of discovery and damnation bubbling within. Maybe I could take her down once and for all. Image prompt. A young woman with dark hair crouches behind a crate in a dimly lit alleyway, clutching her phone tightly. Her eyes are wide with a blend of fear and excitement, reflecting the determination of someone on the brink of uncovering a significant secret. Nearby, her friend stands watch, blonde hair framing her concerned expression, ready to alert her at any moment. The eerie glow of streetlights casts deep shadows against the brick walls, creating a tense atmosphere filled with potential danger. I had spent weeks meticulously crafting my plan, luring my stepmother deeper into her web of arrogance and deceit. My heart raced with anticipation as the day of the charity gala approached, a lavish event where I could finally expose her once and for all. There, under the blinding lights and amongst the elite, her carefully constructed facade would crack. Prepared to play the reluctant victim, I slipped into the elegant dress that had remained untouched in my closet. The fabric clung to me like a second skin, an armor against the chaos I was about to unleash. I glanced in the mirror, the reflection staring back at me, a stark reminder of the girl who had once been lost and now stood ready to reclaim her story. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Lila asked, a note of concern lacing her voice as she fixed my hair into a loose bun. "Yes," I replied, determination hardening in my tone. "Not only for myself, but for Mum. She deserves this." The night felt electric as I entered the grand ballroom, a swirling kaleidoscope of laughter, music, and excited chatter filling the air. The rich aroma of gourmet food wafted through the elegantly decorated hall, the opulence a stark contrast to the turmoil bubbling in my chest. "There she is. Isn't she stunning?" I overheard a woman whisper about me, glancing sideways. I exhaled deeply, suppressing the thrill coursing through my veins. I had to keep my emotions in check. Reality felt surreal amidst the sparkle and glitz. And then, the moment I had been waiting for arrived. My stepmother walked through the double doors, her presence commanding, pretending to be the queen of the gathering. In her designer gown, confidence surged through her as she mingled, the attention feeding her insatiable ego. I watched, my fingers trembling against the glass of champagne I clutched tightly, the bubbles fizzing against my palm. "Are you ready?" Lila whispered, standing beside me in her own elegant attire, eyeing the growing crowd. "Ready as I'll ever be." I nodded, steeling myself against the flood of emotions. Let's make this happen. The plan was simple, yet brilliant. Draw the attention of her allies and entrap her in her own web of lies. I approached her with a smile plastered on my face, feigning vulnerability. "Stepmom," I called out, my voice steady despite the thrumming panic underneath. She turned, her expression shifting instantly from indifference to insincere delight. "Oh, darling, there you are. You look marvelous." The whirlwind of faces around us shifted their attention toward me. A group of charity investors observed, their curiosity piqued. "This was perfect, thank you." "I wanted to talk to you about something important," I said, my heart racing but my demeanor calm. "I found a little something in your purse that has changed my perception of our relationship." A flicker of uncertainty washed over her face, but she masked it with a smile, her icy green eyes narrowing slightly. "What do you mean, sweetheart? You're being quite cryptic." I feigned a nervousness I didn't feel. "I saw the pawnshop receipt, and I really just wanted to know why," I said, letting the words hang in the air, heavy with implication. "What? Sweetheart, that's a ridiculous accusation." Her voice rose slightly, betraying her carefully curated composure. "You're making a scene at a public event." I raised an eyebrow, matching her gaze. "Am I? Or are you just afraid of the truth?" The crowd around us began to murmur, the whispers igniting like dry leaves catching fire, the tension crackling in the air. Sensing the unease, I pressed on. "The truth is, everyone deserves to know that you've been hiding things from me. What else are you keeping buried?" Now, let's not make this awkward, dear." She laughed too loudly, an attempt to dismiss the growing tension. But as I glanced around, I felt the eyes of the gathering rest heavy upon her. I stepped into her space, lowering my voice conspiratorially. "It's not just me who wants answers. If we went public with this, I wonder how many of your friends and acquaintances would stand supportively beside you." Her mouth clamped shut, realization sinking in. I could almost see the gears in her mind turning as she reeled from the implications. "You wouldn't dare," she hissed, her voice low but laced with fury. "This is not the place for this nonsense, but I think it is the perfect place," I retorted, my heart pounding with exhilaration. "You're finally going to face the music. All those years of control, deception, and manipulation, it all ends tonight. You've systematically turned my life upside down, and I have the world watching." The onlookers' chatter intensified around us, curiosity morphing into captivated anticipation. I saw Lila watching from the sidelines, a mix of pride and admiration reflected in her eyes. "Darling, please." Let's not air our family drama in front of our esteemed guests. She tried to sound calm, but the tremor betrayed her fear. Family? I scoffed. You've lied to me for too long. You think you can just dance around the truth forever? Everyone deserves to know the real you. In my mind, I felt the weight of my mother's spirit, urging me forward as the room quieted, the world outside fading in importance. Then, as if triggered by some silent cue, I glanced past my stepmother to the raised stage where the event manager stood with their microphone. Attention, everyone. His booming voice filled the room like a clarion call. We have someone with something to share. It was the moment I had orchestrated, an unexpected spotlight illuminating my stepmother and her schemes. I had to decide, forgive or destroy? Tell me in the comments, I called out, my voice ringing with the strength of a survivor. Image prompt. A young woman in an elegant gown stands at the center of a grand ballroom. Determination etched on her face as she faces an imposing stepmother cloaked in anger. Surrounding them, guests murmur in shock, their surprised gazes illuminating the tension. The atmosphere is electric, with twinkling chandeliers casting shadows, setting the stage for a powerful confrontation. The moment I had orchestrated for weeks arrived, the air thick with anticipation as the gala continued to buzz with laughter and chatter. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest, the taste of fear mingling with the champagne I had sipped to bolster my courage. Standing in front of my stepmother, all eyes upon us, I felt the weight of my words, the culmination of betrayal pressing down on me. Let's not make this awkward, dear, she replied, her voice dripping with feigned graciousness. There was a flicker of panic in her icy green eyes, a lie lurking behind her rehearsed smiles. Oh, but it's already awkward. Because everyone here deserves to know just how far your deceit runs, I countered, allowing the words to cascade from my lips as deliberately as I'd rehearsed. A small hush fell over the crowd, curiosity piercing the air like darts aimed for my stepmother's heart. I don't know what you're talking about. You're embarrassing yourself. Her voice quivered slightly, the facade beginning to crack under pressure. You're a confused girl who's lost her mind. This isn't the place for your dramatics. Dramatics? I echoed, raising my voice slightly, allowing it to bounce off the gilded walls. You mean for finally seeking the truth? Perhaps we should talk about that pawnshop receipt I found tucked away in your purse. Gasps echoed throughout the crowd, their eyes darting between us as if they were witnessing a slow-motion collision. My stepmother's smile evaporated. The fear lurking there morphed into indignation. How dare you air our family's business in front of everyone? She spat, her composure now a mere wasteland of its former self. You're making a fool out of yourself, and for what? To protect a necklace that has no value. It's just an object. An object, I retorted, stepping closer, the familiar scent of her overpowering perfume mixing with the floral decor of the ballroom, reminding me of the dreams I once held on to. That necklace was my mother's, a piece of her love. I felt the heat rise in me. Every word I spoke echoed louder in the unfolding space. It's a symbol of everything you've stripped away from me? Her expression twisted, an ice-hard mask slipping just enough for the world to glimpse the bitter truth. You have to let go of the past. You think holding onto a necklace makes her come back. You know nothing. Taking a breath, I decided to press on for the audience, their eyes now fixated on the spectacle unraveling before them with rapt attention. Do you want to know what else I found? I have proof you've taken from me before, findings buried deeper than just a single pawnshop receipt. What are you talking about? She demanded, regaining some of her bravado as the crowd leaned in. I pulled out my phone and played the audio I had secretly recorded weeks ago, the transaction with the shady businessman. Let's listen to your conversation about money laundering. Do you think you can hide from the truth forever? The crowded room fell silent, the weight of the bombshell reverberating through the opulent air as disbelief spread across their faces. I didn't miss the flicker of anger and fear in my stepmother's eyes. She was cornered. You wouldn't dare. She began, but the fear encased in her words lacked any semblance of confidence. I would, and I am, I asserted, letting the full weight of my anger surge forward, each word a refined weapon. This isn't just about you and me anymore. This is about manipulation, lies that stretch far deeper than I ever imagined. You've taken everything from me, my childhood, my mother's legacy, twisted them into a world of your making. I glanced around at the crowd faces painted with shock. entranced by the drama unfolding, the tension palpable. And now, it's your turn to face the music. Do you understand what I've uncovered? Your empire is crumbling before your eyes. Whatever you think you've found won't hold up in court. Her voice was more brittle now, laced with desperation. Who said anything about court? I have friends and allies, people who will stand with me when this truth reaches them. I gestured to Lila, who nodded in silent solidarity. She was my witness, my guardian angel. We'll make sure everyone knows the real you. The audience began to murmur, some seeming sympathetic to my plight, while others eyed my stepmother with distrust. I continued pouring my heart out, fusing my passion and my grief into every syllable. I'm not the confused girl you think I am. I will reclaim not only what's rightfully mine, but also my narrative from you. With that, I stepped back, allowing the gravity of my revelations to sink into the minds of the guests watching. As voices began to rise, my stepmother's world began to crumble, a cacophony of disbelief and fury unfurling around us. Your time is over, I whispered, feeling an unyielding sense of power blossom within me. This is just the beginning. The echoes of her downfall swirled through the evening air. I felt the weight of my mother's love guiding me, allowing my spirit to finally soar free. The judgment that would rain down upon my stepmother would be just, a long-deserved reckoning. Image prompt. A young woman stands confidently in a luxurious ballroom, her elegant gown shimmering under the grand chandeliers, poised against a backdrop of shocked onlookers. Her expression is a mix of determination and fierce resolve as she confronts an older woman, her stepmother, who stands with a mask of indignation. The atmosphere is thick with tension, anticipation hanging in the air, as the crowd watches with bated breath. My heart raced as I left the gala that night, the weight of victory coursing through me. After exposing my stepmother at the charity event, the people who had once hung on her every word now whispered about her deceit. I felt a sense of liberation wash over me, but the road ahead was fraught with uncertainty. Days turned into weeks, and the fallout from that night unfolded like a wildflower amidst the concrete jungle of my life. News of my stepmother's unraveling made headlines, a betrayal too salacious to ignore. I watched from a distance as her once celebrated reputation crumbled beneath the weight of her lies. Rumors spread like wildfire. I heard she's facing charges for fraud, my neighbor exclaimed during a casual chat over coffee. I sipped my warm brew, the rich aroma comfortingly grounding me. It felt surreal to hear other people speak about her with indignation rather than admiration. Lila, who had become my constant ally, looked at me one afternoon, her amber eyes glimmering with excitement as she scrolled through her phone. You won't believe this, but your stepmom has gone from socialite criminal to public disgrace in the blink of an eye, she said, barely able to contain her laughter. Let's hope it's a life lesson in how to treat others, I replied, my voice surprisingly firm. Not just a few months in jail. Look at her down spiral. People are turning against her left and right, Lila continued, shaking her head in disbelief. There's talk of bankruptcy, and her so-called friends have disappeared like a mirage in the desert. What goes around comes around. I guess, I said. A sense of satisfaction wells up within me. However, my peace still felt tenuous. A part of me worried about retaliation. A few weeks later, I included myself on a local news segment about overcoming family adversity. I shared my experience, my emotional journey, and the importance of standing up for yourself against manipulation. My voice trembled initially, but as I spoke, passion ignited within me, grounding my resolve. I found strength and support outside my family ties. I learned the hard way that it's not about wealth. It's about honesty and integrity. The day they announced my stepmother's sentencing was bittersweet. She had been charged with multiple counts of fraud, false representations, and financial mismanagement, everything crumpling into a perfect storm of consequence. 5 years in state prison, the reporter announced, and I could hardly suppress the twinge of satisfaction that danced within me. I remember that night clearly standing in the kitchen as Lila and I celebrated over takeout. Laughter bubbling up with every anecdote from our past childhood, reminiscences tinged with hope for the future. You can finally breathe, she remarked, raising her soda can. To new beginnings. To moving on, I cheered, my heart swelling with an unfulfilled resonance. Yet I found it hard to completely celebrate as I watched my stepmother fade from the life I had fought to reclaim. It's sad though, isn't it? I whispered, staring down at the fireworks exploding across the sky, their beauty contrasting with the weight of sorrow for what could have been. Sad? She made her choices, Leela replied, her tone earnest. You found the truth, and now you can finally live your life authentically. So many lost opportunities for connection. It's hard not to think of all the moments overshadowed by her greed, I admitted, my voice catching as bittersweet memories washed over me. The pang of loss was still there, an echo of childhood stolen, but it was fading, transformed into a strength that coursed through me like a stream of sunlight. I guess I can't dwell on what I lost. What matters is what I choose to build now. As my chapter shifted, my days brightened. I began going out more, creating meaningful connections, forming friendships that sparked as bright as the sun. Lila and I even started volunteering at a local shelter, giving back to the community that had embraced me during my tumultuous journey. Months passed, and one sunny afternoon I stood in front of that old garden where my mother used to take me, sunlight spilling through the branches like a delicate veil of hope. I turned to Lila, who huddled beside me, content as we dug our hands into the soil, planting flowers. We're making something new, she said, her voice filled with warmth. It's a symbol of growth. Just like these flowers, I finally feel like I can bloom, I admitted, smiling through the fresh gust of wind that washed over us. The juxtaposition of my stepmother's downfall and my newfound peace filled me with a sense of balance that I hadn't expected to find. Life had a way of realigning itself, reflecting on everything. I knew one thing for certain. Subscribe for more karma, I whispered to myself with an easy smile. Knowing there was more ahead, my story leaching with the sweet scent of resilience. As we continued planting, surrounded by blooms and laughter, I felt the past drifting away, leaving room for the present. Image prompt. A young woman with long dark hair kneels in a sunlit garden, dirt on her hands, planting new flowers. She wears a soft smile filled with resilience and hope, her eyes sparkling with life. Beside her, a friend with light blonde hair joins eagerly in the task, their camaraderie radiating warmth amidst colorful blossoms. The backdrop showcases a vivid blue sky, symbolizing new beginnings and the beauty of growth.